Welcome back, guys. As you can see, I'm just in the process of editing this video up at the moment. Totally forgot to record sort of an intro when I was in the garage really. So this video is just about removing the valve cover and then removing the upper and lower timing covers. I ran into a bit of an issue doing that, and one of the things I really want to stress and get across to people if they're kind of using this video for any sort of reference is just to make sure that as soon as you remove the valve cover, rotate the engine round to top dead centre and make sure that you can get the cam locking plate in straight away before you do anything else, because that kind of caused me a few problems, as you'll see, which hopefully I've managed to rectify. So I'm a little bit further on in the project now than the video I'm editing, and I've got a few things to figure out, so I think it is going to kind of slow progress down a bit because there's only so much I can do until I've figured out what I'm actually going to replace is the main thing. So a good example of that is this intake solenoid for adjusting the cam timing. Took it out, tested it, not happy with it, which I'll go into more detail in the next video. And then it's, sourcing the correct part, trying to get it for a sensible price, and just weighing up options. Do I go for a used part? Do I go for a new part? So yeah, those little things that I've been finding like that, which I'll show you, have just kind of been delaying me a bit really, and I'd like to get cracked on with it. But I'm not too far off now. I think there's a couple more parts that I want to source, mainly just gaskets and things like that, and then should have a fairly clear run at reassembling everything. So yeah, hope you find the video useful. Right, so I think the way we're going to tackle this is we will start by removing the pressure plate, clutch and the dual mass flywheel, and then we'll move on to the casings and the valve cover. So we'll do valve cover, then the upper casing, then the lower casing, and then we should be right back at everything that we need to get at. So yeah, we'll start by removing these flywheel bolts, and they're 9mm 12-point sockets. So a lot of the sockets I've got are 6-sided. What you want is one like this, so a 12-point socket to remove that. That looks like it. So just 6 of those bolts in total. We have to remove the pressure plate. There we go. So we've got the back of the pressure plate and the clutch. The clutch and the pressure plate removed from the flywheel. We're going to have to remove these spline drive, these M12 spline drive bolts all the way around, and then this should allow us to remove this dual mass flywheel from the engine. So you line these holes up with the bolts and then should remove them. Now there is actually a tool that you can there's a tool that you can make that you can probably maybe purchase it from VW, I'm not sure, but basically I think it's like a bolt, something that bolts into here, and then you have something that captures into the side of the flywheel to stop it from being able to spin. So I don't have that. I'm going to see how I get on undoing these anyway. I don't think they'll be massively tight. If we do struggle with it, we'll try and figure a way of holding back on this so that we can remove it. But it says don't use an impact gun on this to avoid damaging the flywheel, but as we're going to be replacing it, it's not a massive issue, so I might even resort to that just to get the job done quickly. But when I'm refitting, I'll definitely have to be a lot more careful. Next little task, we'll get this gasket off that was in between the engine and the bell housing of the gearbox. There's just a little hex head bolt here, it looks like, that holds that on. So just the one little bolt to remove, and that comes away. I'm actually gonna just pop that back in, because I don't see it's going to do any harm being there. So that's that gasket removed. Right, next up we'll get this valve cover removed. So looks like we've just got an array of 10mm bolts around the outside, and we've got a couple of here in the corners on this side that look like they're in sort of rubber mountings. So we'll check those and just make sure both of those are the same and we'll remove them. Can't see that we'll have anything else to remove to get this off. It's just going to be a case of removing these bolts, so we'll do that. This is starting to get a little bit more exciting now that I can have a look and see if I can see anything evidently wrong, any signs of wear to the cam gear and stuff at the ends. And yeah, so let's get cracking with this. Yeah, so interestingly, it feels like these are captive within the cover itself. Like this doesn't want to come out. So we'll just get all the rest to this point. But that's yeah, very strange. I've not come across that before. Yeah, it's nice. That's fine. That's at least just in front of the So it's actually just a couple of nuts. So what I'm going to try and do is actually just leave as many of these bolts and things in as possible when removing this. So I'm just going to try and remove the ones that hold the casing on. It's like these cam sensors bolted into the plate anyway, so these will just come away with the plate. So I'm just going to leave them in there so I know they're in the right position. So we've got a number of hex head bolts round here, all 5mm I think. Got like a little spline drive, looks like down here on the left hand side. And we've got a couple of, not sure, can't see what they are, but I'll have a look. But I think they might be just some of the hex head bolts going up into the bottom of the casing here as well. So what we'll do is we'll start on this front bolt here, and we'll just work round, and we'll check these as remove and just make sure they're equal lengths. And if there any that are different, I'll make you aware, and obviously a good record for me as well when I'm trying to put things back together, so I know where everything came from. Quite long actually that. I'm hoping that these are mostly similar length, but I guess if there's some decently shorter ones, it's going to be pretty obvious fairly quickly that, you know, that's clearly not going to work to go all the way through there. Somewhere. It's going to be one of these two. So these are 5mm and these are 6mm. Maybe there's a risk there of something following the thread up. Let's see what this one's like. Yeah, so this one's the same. So both of those two, some sort of sealant. Show you. Some sort of sealant on the end of them. Odd. The bolts themselves, though, don't seem to be any different. All seem to be the same. There's two over on this side. Actually, one other thing that we need to do is we need to remove this tensioner from the back, which is gonna take tension off this chain, but unfortunately it does have to come off. I don't think we can remove that with the cover. I think we do have to actually get that off. As a precaution, I'm just gonna I'm just gonna put a couple of these back in, just finger tight. Just that one in, we'll do that one. I'll just do them finger tight. 27. Yeah. It's a bit tight to get this ratchet in. That's quite tight to crack that off, but feels sort of now it's done, it's going to come off fairly easy. Socket stuck on it. Hoping we don't get a load of oil leaking out of it yet. Probably will. You'd see how that would work. How it would keep pressure on the chain. Cracked away there. Just the sealant. It's just the sealant, so it's a bit awkward to get off. So there we go. So that's the top cover off. Yeah, so there's something I haven't actually mentioned, I'd forgot about that I'd done, was on this side of the engine you've got your main sort of pulley here on the end of the crankshaft, and if you look there, there's a little marker on the side of the engine that I've penned yellow, and there's also a little indentation in the back of the pulley. If you line those up, that should be top dead centre, but we're probably going to check it a few other ways as well. But just while we do this little bit of the job, thought it'd be good just to make sure that it is in top dead centre before we do any messing around or removing anything else. So as soon as you've removed the valve cover, the next thing you want to do is to get your cam locker installed before you do anything else. So get the engine turned over to top dead centre, which you can do via that pulley on this side of the engine, and then you want to get your cam locker installed. If you need to rotate the engine over, then you can do, and I didn't actually do that, and I made a little bit of a mistake here, and I'll explain that shortly. Once you remove this cover, you actually remove the tension off this tensioner on this side. I just wrongly assumed that if I put the engine to top dead centre that I'd be able to get the cam locker straight in at that end without any problem, but that wasn't the case. I actually had to turn the engine slightly to be able to get that into position. Actually, the camshafts were like 180 degrees out of alignment for me to be able to put the plate in somehow, even when the engine was at top dead centre. I'm guessing that's to do with the way I turned the engine and probably the amount of adjustment in these cam phases. So what I did is I tried to turn the engine over just to get the cams back in position, which worked, but also because there's no tension on the chain on this side, this cam ended up being almost probably about 70 degrees out of kilter with this one. I don't think it slipped any teeth or anything, but yeah, obviously not ideal, so I'd recommend that you get those cam lockers in first. And what I was able to do is just turn the cam over on the end, using the end of it to get everything back lined up again nicely. So onto the lower cam cover now, so we'll get these removed first. These are just ones coming up through the sump. It looks like you're a little bit leaking from the inside, so we may have to replace that. I can start working around and removing these now. Not tight at all, these, really easy. Actually just go around and get them all cracked. Actually remove the long ones here, and then just so you can see as well. You can see little lots of them. So far it's in there. Yep. It's in there. Carry on. I'm going to guess that all these are going to be the same, and then possibly these two top ones here will be longer. Certainly all look same length so far. Just these two very top ones. Something I'm going to have to be careful of as well is just this part of the head gasket. I definitely don't want to be damaging that while I'm doing this job, so just to be really careful working around that. Those felt a little bit tighter than the others. Yeah, so there you can see much longer, these two top ones. See if there's any difference between these. No, identical. So I think we're ready to remove the casing now. So I think there was 15 of these really short bolts that were all the same. There's 3 of the spline driving the bottom coming up through the sump, and you can see there's little cutouts here to access those. And then there's the 2 longer bolts which are in the very top of the cover. So we'll try and get this off now. It's starting to go now.